what was it that made you decide now is time for me to move on? Now is time for me to do something else. When you did eventually leave Aramex, did you already have something in mind as to what you wanted to do next? Or were you needing a break? I mean, what was the situation in your mind at the time?
Several things, Malak. After 30 years, it was time to step down. It was an institutional organization, already public, already doing well, extremely well. I had wanted to leave actually 3 years before, but then the financial crisis hit. And so nobody leaves the ship when there is rough seas. It delayed me, unfortunately, even though Aramex had done extremely well in the financial crisis because we had no debt and we were able to benefit actually, believe it or not, from the crisis because went down and Aramex was so relevant still. But anyway, so I said I will take my time and I will start handing over to the next generation. I always thought that I needed to have a deep bench, an incredible bunch of people that can actually carry building the business with me. And then when I left, one of them at least could continue as the CEO of the company. And I had a choice of 4 or 5 people, if you want. And the most important part of it, one, is to prove that there is an institutional process and to show the next generation of Aramex that you can start in the company from the bottom and grow to become a CEO. And the CEO that came after me was somebody it was his first job. So 20 years later, he became CEO. And the one after him, there's 3 CEOs after me. And the one after him had only Aramex as his job. And the current one had Aramex as his second job. So they're all spent 20 years. And how powerful is it to show the people that work in an organization that there's an institution here? It's not a business where my son inherits me in becoming the CEO. And so that was part of the ethos and the culture of the company. And I needed to show that it's out there. And number two, it was time for me to move. I wasn't doing much, to be honest with you. I mean, I was earning a good pay. I was having fun running a 17,000 people business that was successful. But I wanted to do other stuff. And it was.
You needed a new challenge,
Yeah,
maybe,
I
Fadi.
needed a new challenge for sure. But I also felt that the company was ready. It was at the peak, if you want, and the team was just supremely capable. I mean,
It had become an adult.
and I had
It no
prepared them.
longer needed its
It was
parent.
even more than an adult.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was already part of the worry is I wanted to keep it entrepreneurial. So, I mean, I was pushing entrepreneurship. I wanted to make sure that it's not an institutional organization that becomes slow and lazy because it's big. And so you need to push people to innovate, create, come up with new products. There's challenges out there. The internet and the e-commerce world has created all sorts of opportunities and challenges for you. So I wanted to make sure that the team was in tune with that. And so they were ready. I was ready. The company was ready. The whole organization was ready. So it was also, I prepared the guy that came after me for 2 years, a very slow process without him knowing. He was eased into it. And then when I stepped down, it was a natural process.
And so explain to me a little bit your other, sort of the other hat you wear, which is your involvement with Roed. How does this complement what you're currently doing with WAMDA? I know that Roed it's a community empowerment platform, and it's operating in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Egypt, and Palestine, and it's helping underprivileged communities, marginalized communities, through their youth. Correct? And explain to me a little bit about the sorts of projects you've done with them. Which of those markets is your largest, has your largest number of projects? And how do you, it seems very much to me that your approach to giving back is entrepreneurial based as well, which it's to me is a very sort of smart way of bridging different worlds and allowing the private sector to really be involved and not having to rely on government for all of this when the governments are struggling with so much already. So give me a sense of what your philosophy is with this organization.
Thank you for that question, Malak. It's it's essential as I talk about what I do, is that Ruwad is also at the core of it. Because look, the Ruwad philosophy, if you want, is about marginalization in its wider context. What does that mean? So I feel that us in the private sector, the entrepreneurial community, the people that are capable and can effect change, are also marginalized. We've put ourselves outside of the development structure in our own countries, meaning some of us will participate. So I'm generalizing a bit here, but that's okay. I mean, that's for emphasis. And so we've put ourselves outside of the formula, meaning we've abdicated our role. And it's not only in the region, that's a global story. What is the role of businesses? What's the role of entrepreneurs? Is the business itself, while it is operating, has a social impact angle to it, or is it only responsible to its shareholders and it wants to make profit? So my argument is that we are both marginalized. We've marginalized ourselves from the process, and the people that are living on the margins are living on the margins. They feel that they're forgotten. We self-inflicted this marginalization, and the people that live on the margins, the world forgot them. So my argument is, how do we demarginalize both? How do we bring the private sector, the entrepreneurial community that has networks, that has capital, that has access, that has knowledge, that has jobs? I mean, private sector has so many things at its fingertips. It's not only about money. It's about impact in general in society in its wider level. How do we step into these areas where, in our own countries, where we feel passionate? I mean, these are our citizens, our brothers, our sisters. These are the people of our country. And so if we're concerned about our country in general, we have to step in and actually work with these people. So one, there is a sense of community among both parts. And number two, to work with them in partnership. This is not charity. This is not me saying, I feel sorry for you and I want to help you. This is me saying, look, I'm very capable. I have capabilities. You also have capabilities. You also have challenges. Let me bring my own capabilities, partner with you, and see how I'm going to help you solve the challenges that you face on your day-to-day basis. So if you look at what we did in Jordan, which is our biggest operation and where we launched our Ruwad. So it was also part of Aramex. By the way, Aramex's social responsibility, because we believe in the concept that I had just explained to you. We said Aramex is not going to have a CSR program. We want to be immersed.
I know you don't like that. I know you don't like the CSR label, and rightly so, because I know you feel it's a sort of a PR stunt, and I think a lot of companies do use it that way.
It's nice that they want to use it. It will have some impact here and there, but for me, it's, if you want to have it part of the culture of the organization, then you get everyone in the organization to participate in it. Even until today, the Aramex people are immersed in training these young people in our communities on business practices, helping them in whatever, giving them internships, etc., etc. So there is a participatory process where the organization actually feels that it has that impact on society and on the community that it lives in. So if I want to go back to what I was just explaining on what we've done in Jordan, when we entered Jabal al-Nadif, which is at the heart of Amman, East Amman in Jordan, we basically sat with the elders of the community in Jabal al-Nadif and said, how can we help you? And for them, we were aliens in the beginning. Who are you? Who are these private sector people that are coming into us and wanting to do things? We don't trust you, or we don't believe what you're saying. But then we, after a discussion, we said, okay, share with us your challenges. So they wanted schools to be fixed. There was no post office, there was no bus station, there was no clinic, there was no police station, there was no community center, etc., etc. So what do we do in the private sector, the entrepreneurial community? Because it is who we are, because we understand that when you talk about challenges in the market, you actually have to deliver on them. So we said to them, look, your challenges are going to be resolved in the next 12 months. So community center, clinic, scholarships to your kids, etc., etc. And so we delivered on everything that we did. And the amount of trust that we got from the community for people who put their money where their mouth is, put their action where their mouth is, was incredible because it was unique. You know, people that run for election.
And a question, Fadi. So that sort of project, you bring in different companies to take on those specific elements.
Yes.
For example, one company will come in and fix the sewage system. One company will come in and provide the scholarship. How does it work on the ground?
We're a holistic organization and we're an open platform. So initially, for instance, fixing the school, we brought a contractor to fix the school. We were responsible, so he wasn't. We owned every project. One of our friends who builds furniture for schools actually built furniture for school. We had other friends who have a painting company, so they came in and painted the school, etc. We partnered with we fixed 5 schools in the beginning in that community. In the clinic, we built the clinic ourselves and then went to the Ministry of Health because we have access, obviously, and the Ministry of Health eventually manned it. So we told them what is the best way to build the clinic. They said you need these equipment. We bought everything and told the Ministry of Health you don't have to spend money, but you need a doctor over there. So, and why do they need the Ministry of Health? Because the Ministry of Health can give you access to the hospital system of government. We couldn't have manned it privately.
Of course.
And so the post office, we went to the post office organization and said to them, there is no post office in the community. Can we build it? But you man it. And people need the post office because they get paid the government subsidy every year, not because there is letters, but they distribute the monthly checks for people that are poorest of the poor out of post offices. And so, and building the community center, we built it. We brought a contractor. It was our cost, and the community center is built there. On the scholarship side, so the core of our program is a youth-enabled program. So we give scholarships for youth to come back and give community work. So they give me their time and we give them their scholarship. And why do we do that? Because it's a character building process. Because this prepares them for the real world. So come, find projects, fix things in the community. It's your community, it's your home, it's your streets. And so there is this incredible partnership. This is our 17th year, by the way, in Jordan. We have 3 centers already across the country, and we love what we do. I mean,
and is it different in each country? I mean, you're dealing with different challenges in each place, so you're obviously tailoring what's needed for each country. Do you then approach local entrepreneurs, local companies, to try and fill those gaps, solve those issues?
Totally. So in Egypt, for instance, there is no need, the youth, we're in Izbet Khairallah in Egypt, one of the al-ashwaiyat, if you want. We've been there for, I don't know, 10 years already. It was it was Aramex doing it, and I partner with Aramex today. So the Aramex finances, I partner with Aramex, and we find local friends from the business community to participate with us, just like in Jordan. I mean, that's the model. And so in Egypt, we do more for, we have a computer center there to teach the youth programming. We have a language center because the students there, there's no cost for you to go to university. So they want more practical skills. And some of them don't want to go to the university. So there is no copy and paste. You have to customize and adapt to the local challenge. And we have to partner with the local community. So in Izbet Khairallah, we had to find the local umda, if you want, the local guy that gives you comfort. Because
chief.
If I go to Izbet Khairallah, they'll definitely not let me go. protest.
They're going to laugh. They're going to laugh.
They laugh and they say, I'm also Jordanian, right? So, I mean, who's this Jordanian coming to Egypt to do stuff?
Yeah.
And we launched,
And the accent مش هيفهموها.
and then we launched before the Arab Spring. And so there was politics in it, as you know. And so also,
Sure,
but
sure.
we continue to be there. We have a community center and it's fantastic. In Palestine, it's a bit different. We work in villages that are marginalized, but the same concept. You always have to give back
Yes.
in the community, your community service, your volunteering work. And so we're in 3 villages in Palestine. In Lebanon, we're in Tripoli in the north, and we do exactly like we do in Jordan. But there's also a conflict because there are different sects over there and they compete. But when they come to our community, they see the commonalities among them rather than competing outside. So there is that element of creating harmony in the community when there is no harmony outside the community. So we feel that we are making
Yes.
an impact there among the youth.
I want to shift a little bit to some slightly more lighter areas. We've spoken a lot so far about your work and your career and your business life. Tell me a little bit about yourself in the sense of how do you relax? What are your hobbies? Have you learned something over the years purely for the fun of it that is not something that's necessarily going to impact your work life, but just something that you're interested in and you've wanted to excel in it just for the sake of that? Has there been have you had time, first of all, for that?
That's a big question. So look, I make time for things. I am supremely disciplined in how I manage my time. From even when in my busiest days, I, for instance, never skip exercising. So I'm a swimmer. I spent my life, I was in the Jordanian swimming team, national swimming team, back in the mid 70s, late 70s. I continued swimming all through. I swam for George Washington University in my freshman year, and that was my thing until I ruined my shoulder. I eventually, when you ruin your shoulder and you're only good at swimming, you have to be innovative again to discover what you can do. I definitely was never a runner because my knees were terrible. And so I ended up, I'm back to swimming now, but I am also a cyclist. So I cycle, I love cycling now. And so I exercise.
And do you cycle in place, or do you actually go out on the road?
Go out now. I live in Dubai, and we are blessed in Dubai in having long cycling routes, very safe cycling routes. So I love that, and that's 7 months of the year. The heat is bearable, and I love it. And wherever I go, and I was in London last week, by the way, and I would go and rent one of these bikes and go around Hyde Park for an hour just to make sure that I'm exercising, even though the bikes are not fantastic, but they do the job.
And absolutely. And for you, because I'm a swimmer as well, for me, swimming is my version of meditation. It's where I think, it's where I regroup, and I come out feeling invigorated. I mean, is that how you how is that the effect it has for you?
Completely. I've I have friends that meditate, and I've because I've been doing this since 50 years now. And so I tell people I know what you're talking about because I experience it. I have incredible listening to the voice of your breathing. And you get into a trance after a while. And I'm a long distance swimmer, right? So I'm a long distance swimmer. I have competed in Turkey, crossing the Bosphorus, six mile. I did it 3 times with my son.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I am, and being a long distance swimmer, you go into a trance. You have to go into a trance.
Absolutely.
So your breathing, eventually, your repetitive breathing gets you to a place where your mind wanders. So sometimes I say, I want to see, because sometimes I forget what I was thinking about. It's like a dream, right? And sometimes I say, how can I remember what I'm thinking about? I find solutions. I discover sometimes when I have speeches to do and I'm swimming, I discover everything I want to say while I'm swimming.
Absolutely. You almost wish you had a notepad as you're swimming to write
and
it
I
down.
tried, I used to have, I had this music thing, but it doesn't work. It ruins the experience. And I'm also a diver, so everything around the sea is water. And I am
And what's your favorite
Since
stroke? What's
I'm
your
a
favorite
freestyle
stroke?
swimmer, and I'm a
Ah, right.
freestyle
Okay.
swimmer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
since you're Egyptian, I have to tell you that I have been doing the southern Sinai all the way to the Sudanese border for
Hmm.
years. Go down, take a boat, a liveaboard with my two
Yeah.
sons and some friends, and we spend. I am, you know, if you would tell me what I would want to do continuously in my life is to be able to swim and do the diving, because the
Yeah.
underwater, if you experience the Red Sea, and I don't go anywhere else. No, I'm not curious to go around the world seeking, because the Red Sea is right next door, and what it has, the colors, the fish, the beauty of it is just incredible and so relaxing.